Chapter 736. Even though his back was facing Tanghua, Feng Yu could feel her focused gaze. When those beautiful eyes were looking at him seriously, it was hard to ignore them even if he wanted to. Feng Yu didn't dare to look back. He was afraid that if he did, he wouldn't be able to do it. Thinking of what he had to do, he quickly drove the messy thoughts out of his mind and focused on installing the game and debugging the gaming chamber. Half an hour later, he exhaled deeply and stood up. It's done. He looked back at Tanghua, who was sitting on the chair with her chin propped up and smiling at him. She looked so innocent when she smiled. For a moment, Feng Yu wanted to run out of the door, but he touched the other USB flash drive in his pocket and held himself back. It's done, he said again. His lips and teeth were trembling slightly. His hands were also trembling. He didn't know what was wrong, but since things had come to this point, he had to continue. Is it done? Tanghua got up from the chair and walked to the gaming chamber to take a look. You're amazing. Can I try it now? Yes. Feng Yu only felt that the word was incomparably heavy. He shifted his gaze elsewhere and didn't look at her face. Tanghua looked at him with a smile and called, Yes? Feng Yu instinctively turned back and saw a pair of eyes full of love. It's your birthday in a few days. I've prepared a birthday present for you. The present will be sent directly to your company. Don't forget to sign for it. Okay. You'd better get off work early that day. We'll go for dinner tonight. Tanghua stepped into the gaming chamber. When she lay down, she said to him with a smile, Next month, I'll take you home to meet my parents. They asked me before, and I told them about you. They were all happy for me that I found such an amazing boyfriend. They even laughed at me and said that I finally found a like-minded person. Feng Yu was stunned and didn't know how to answer for a moment. Tanghua was already lying in the gaming chamber. She blinked at him. Then I'm going to be the first person to experience holographic games. I'll see you later. Feng Yu opened her mouth and felt a little upset. She would never know that they would not be able to meet again in a while. The moment she saw Tanghua close her eyes, Feng Yu found it difficult to breathe. He stood there and hesitated for 5 minutes. Then, he gritted his teeth and finally pressed a hidden button outside the gaming capsule. This button could start a certain program and restrict Tanghua's brainwaves. He looked at the display on the side of the computer and only felt very uncomfortable in his heart. There was a kind of hot thing that wanted to rush out from his eyes. But his face was solemn. Other than being a little pale, it was as if nothing had happened. His hands trembled as he inserted the USB with Xia Yi's brainwaves into the gaming chamber. He looked cold and ruthless, but no one understood that he was about to suffocate. Saving Xia Yi had been his wish for many years. This experiment also represented a new beginning, so no matter what, he had to continue. After making sure that Xia Yi's brainwaves were inserted into Tanghua's brain, he glanced at a red button in the gaming chamber. As long as he pressed it, Tanghua's brainwaves would be expelled from her brain and bound to the special program. At this time, Tanghua, who was lying in the gaming chamber, saw Feng Yu's expression clearly. The system asked with concern, Dear host, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? No, I'm fine. Chapter 737. Tanghua first felt that her soul was bound by something. Then, she realized that there was indeed something in her brain. The system told her that it was Xia Yi's brainwaves. Perhaps it was because her soul had entered this body in the first place, so Feng Yu had bound her soul instead of the brainwaves seen in this world. She did not resist. After all, she had prepared for this day for several months. System. Yes, I've never seen such a person. She would treat someone sincerely just for revenge. Her goal was to make that person suffer even more. How could there be such a person in this world? Tanghua could feel that the very weak brainwaves had already occupied the brain of this body. However, it had not awakened yet. In front of her powerful soul, the other party was really too weak. As long as she wanted, Feng Yu's program could not bind her at all. Even if she was bound, it would be easy for her to make Xia Yi's brainwaves disappear. However, she would not do that. In the end, she felt something pull her soul out and put it in a very dark place. Not long after, her eyes lit up and she came to a somewhat special place. She could feel that there were countless networks around her. She could go through one layer of network to reach another place. She quickly understood that Feng Yu had put her into the computer. He probably wanted to take her brainwaves out of the program. That was why he used the computer. The network she saw was the network. Those layers were probably firewalls or something like that. Those networks were also different colors. She had a feeling that these could not stop her. She could wander freely in the world of the network. After all, she was really not a brainwave, but a powerful soul. A soul that had passed through countless worlds. Interesting. Tanghua was very curious. What could she do in the network? Could she go through these firewalls and security layers and run into other people's computers? Occasionally, she could look through the other party's hidden folders to see if there were any secrets. Also, would she be able to see through those people who secretly downloaded movies with just a glance? System. It's a long story. She quickly threw these thoughts to the back of her mind. Feng Yu, who was in front of the computer, was looking at her with a very complicated gaze. Of course, Feng Yu could only see a string of data that he thought was asleep. I'm sorry, Xiaoguo. Tanghua sneered. Since he knew he was sorry, why did he have to hurt her in the first place? I will take good care of you. When the time is right, I will save you, Feng Yu said with a pained expression. Little E, you haven't seen the outside world for many years. I've spent so many years and conducted so many experiments. I've also chosen countless people. In the end, I've only chosen you. That's the only way I can guarantee that this experiment will succeed, Feng Yu said with a pained expression. I just want little E to see the changes in this world. She has been waiting for a long time. She is a very innocent girl. I don't want to disappoint her again and again. I'm sorry, Feng Yu's words. I'm sorry, but I don't want you to forgive me. I don't expect you to forgive me, but please believe me. One day, I will bring you back. In the future, Feng Yu seemed to be struggling. I will bring you by my side every day. After Feng Yu finished speaking, she planned to put Tanghua's brainwaves back into the USB flash drive. At this time, there was a movement in the game chamber. Chapter 738. Xiaoyi. Feng Yu quickly turned around. When he saw the person in the gaming cabin moving, he almost called out, Xiaoyi. Finally, he remembered his plan and quickly changed his words. Xiaoguo, how do you feel? How's your gaming experience? Feng Yu came to the gaming cabin and suppressed the excitement in his heart. In fact, he did not know if he had really succeeded. However, according to his many years of experiments, the success rate had reached 95%. Otherwise, he would not dare to do it directly. Xiaoyi felt her body was a little heavy. She had never felt like this when she was using her brain waves. She could play freely in the computer. She was at a loss for what to do with this familiar yet strange feeling. She opened her eyes and saw Feng Yu in front of her. She subconsciously asked, Didn't you say that you would bring me into the game to play? What's the situation now? Xiaoguo. Feng Yu deliberately did not know that the person in front of him was Xiaoyi. Xiaoguo, what are you talking about? Didn't you decide to be the first user of the holographic gaming cabin? How do you feel now? Xiaoyi looked at Feng Yu excitedly and finally felt that something was wrong. She looked down and realized that she had a body. She widened her eyes in disbelief. The moment Xiaoyi opened her eyes, Feng Yu knew that he had succeeded. The innocent and naive eyes belonged to Xiaoyi. Her childish expression, coupled with her delicate face, made him feel a little awkward all of a sudden. The originally perfect body and face actually had some cracks under his aesthetic sense. It was as if she should not be like this. She should be perfect at all times. Even if she stood in the wind early in the morning with her hair messed up by the cold wind, she should still be perfect. Xiaoyi was completely flustered. She could not lie to Feng Yu. She quickly told him that she was not the host who tried the game. She also did not understand why she had run into his body. She also could not explain why this happened. She thought that it might be a mistake in the program that caused the accident. In her heart, she was secretly delighted. She actually had a body. Just now, she lowered her head to take a look. This body was especially perfect. Her skin was white, and her figure was slender. The only flaw was that she should be slightly older than her actual age. However, she had a body. She was also a little afraid. She was afraid that the other party would find trouble with her, and she was also afraid that this would be temporary. What should we do now? Xiaoyi asked nervously. Feng Yu hurriedly comforted her. I don't know what's wrong either. After Xiaoguo entered the gaming cabin, I brought you in as well. I wanted you to experience the game, but I didn't expect. Little E, come out. Let's think of something. Xiaoyi nodded and climbed out of the gaming pod. The gaming pod was very close to the laptop. Perhaps because she hadn't used her body for a long time, she lost her balance and fell towards the laptop. Even though Feng Yu quickly came over to help her, she still pushed over the glass beside the laptop. The water in the glass spilled onto the laptop. Due to inertia, her entire body also fell onto the computer table. She pushed the laptop to the ground, and a loud bang was heard. Feng Yu had already pulled Xiaoyi back, but when he saw that the computer was wet and had fallen to the ground, he felt as if his brain had stopped beating and his heart had stopped beating. He didn't care about Xiaoyi, who hadn't steadied herself, and rushed to the side of the computer. Chapter 739. Xiaoyi was not used to having a new body. She fell on the ground and did not understand why Feng Yu let her go. She rubbed the place where she fell and stood up. She looked at Feng Yu with annoyance. He picked up the laptop carefully, wiped the water crazily, and took it apart. She felt very uncomfortable. However, she had just had a new body. She had been in love with Feng Yu for so long. She walked over and said, I'm sorry, Yu. I'm not used to using a new body. That's why I knocked over the glass and accidentally pushed the laptop down. However, Feng Yu ignored her. He quickly took the laptop apart and cleaned the water inside. According to his experience, he tried his best to save the laptop that contained Tangua's brainwaves. His heart was beating fast. He had never thought that there would be such an accident. If he could do it all over again, he would put her in the USB flash drive first before going to see Xiaoyi. Xiaoyi had already had a new body. She would be fine with it. Why did he have to see Xiaoyi first instead of not protecting her? She had already lost her body, and he had taken it away personally. Could he not even protect her brainwaves now? He did not hear what Xiaoyi was saying. He only had one thought now, which was to fix the laptop and find her. He had to put her in the USB flash drive safely and carry it with him. That way, he would not lose her. While fixing the laptop, Feng Yu's mind was full of Tangua. He recalled all the times he had seen her in the past few months. However, the more anxious he was, the more his hands trembled. After half an hour, he still had not fixed the laptop. Xiaoyi was a little hungry. Looking at Feng Yu, she felt a little sad. She was not familiar with this place. It would be bad if she broke other people's things. So she walked to Feng Yu's side and patted him on the shoulder. You, I'm hungry. Can you take me to eat something first? If what happened just now had not happened, Feng Yu would have been very happy. The person he liked was Xiaoyi. They had been in love for many years. He would be the happiest if he could save her. But now, he only felt that the woman who was talking beside him was very annoying. When Xiaoyi patted him, his hand trembled and he installed the wrong place. He looked up gloomily and said, Go aside first. Yu, didn't you hear me? I told you to go to the side first. If you're hungry, go find something to eat. I don't have time to take care of you right now. I have something important to do. Very important. Xiaoyi burst into tears. It turned out that when she was still a brainwave, Feng Yu was very gentle to her. She had never spoken to her in such a cold tone or with such a scary face. She couldn't accept it. Yu, I really didn't come to this body on purpose. Are you blaming me for being exposed? You can just let them take me away. She didn't understand at all. So what if the computer was broken? Even if it was an important document, based on her years of understanding of Feng Yu, he shouldn't have paid so much attention to it. At least, she thought that between the documents and her, Feng Yu should have chosen her. However, Feng Yu was no longer paying attention to her. She could only cry as she squatted by the side and watched Feng Yu carefully turn on the phone. That look of anticipation was very much like when Feng Yu had once told her that she could help her resurrect. After turning on the computer, Feng Yu went to look for Tangua's brainwaves. Chapter 740. Unfortunately, he had searched through all the documents. Even though he had recovered all the deleted information, he still could not find her. You, what are you looking for? Is there an important document? Feng Yu turned around stiffly and looked at Xia, whose face was full of tears. He recalled everything that had happened today. What should I do now? I really don't know why this happened. Do you blame me? Can you think of a way to find your friend? I'll return her body to her. Feng Yu was stunned. He looked at the computer that had been restored. Other than her, nothing was missing. He whispered, I can't find it. He couldn't find it. She had disappeared. Feng Yu's eyes turned red. Wasn't it his wish to revive little E? Wasn't it his wish? Wasn't it his wish for so many years? Why was he so upset now? Don't ignore me. I know it was my fault just now. It's all my fault for breaking your computer. Xia hugged her arms and cried. What should she do if Feng Yu ignored her? She was unfamiliar with this world and could not survive on her own. It was better to put her in the online world. Feng Yu snapped out of his thoughts and looked at Xia, who was crying softly. He reached out to wipe the tears on her face and hugged her. Okay, don't cry. His voice was extremely gentle, as if they had returned to the past. Xia felt relieved and stopped crying. What should we do now? She asked. Feng Yu patted Xia gently. I don't know where she is. Let's leave it at that for now. We'll talk about it when I find her. Feng Yu took out a tissue and carefully wiped Xia's tears. Don't cry in the future, understand? Okay. Feng Yu felt relieved when he saw Xia smile. How could she cry? She didn't look good when she cried. His eyes and mouth were full of gentleness. Smile more. Haven't you always wanted to have a body? Take this opportunity to see the world. Xia was of course happy, but at the same time, she felt uneasy. She did not know how long she could have this body. What's wrong with your friend? When can we find her? I'll try my best to find her. Don't think too much. Maybe she ran into the online world like you did before. The online world is so big, it's not easy to find her. Feng Yu's voice was trembling. He wasn't even sure if she had gone to the online world. There was also a chance that she had disappeared forever. I'm really afraid that you'll ignore me. I'm so unfamiliar with this world. The only thing I'm familiar with is you. Xia was happy to get her body, but she was also afraid of living in this strange world alone. Of course, she was most afraid of being exposed and taken away for research. In her heart, she hoped that she could occupy this body forever. Having a physical body was much better than living in the virtual world of the internet. She could hug Feng Yu, wear beautiful dresses, and eat delicious food. Don't worry. My friend is a streamer. I've told you before that her job is to broadcast games every day. She seldom goes home, so she won't be exposed. Feng Yu held Xia in her arms and carefully explained to her about Tangua's life. She also taught her how to broadcast games. Xia was very curious about all this. She was very interested in the game and the internet, so she got used to it very quickly. Chapter 741. In order not to give herself away, Feng Yu showed Xia a video of Tangua's previous live streams and asked her to imitate it at home. When she was almost done, Feng Yu asked her to try it out. Everything went smoothly. Although the fans felt that there was something strange about the host today, they did not think too much about it. The voice was still the same, and the tone was still the same. As for what was strange about it, they could not figure it out yet. Will this really work? Yes. Fans tend to be forgetful. Little E, you can slowly adapt to your style of live streaming, and there won't be any problems. Feng Yu stood not far away as he spoke. As he watched Xia's live stream, there was only one voice in his mind. It was different. No matter how well she imitated, they were still two different people, even if their bodies were the same. Feng Yu turned around with his diary. While Xia was live streaming, he had been searching for Tangua in the online world. Right then, Tangua was freely traversing through the online world. She was so engrossed in looking at strange things that she could not be bothered with Feng Yu. She realized that she could really pass through all kinds of obstacles. No matter how private the information was, she could see it without any obstacles. This was different from Xia's brainwaves. Perhaps she was a soul, and these virtual obstacles in the online world could not stop her at all. In order to prove her ability, Lin Yiqian even transmigrated to the secret organization's forum. She saw all kinds of strange things that these people were spreading. It was completely disruptive to the social order. Most importantly, The leader of the group even said arrogantly that not many people could compare to his computer skills. He also told everyone to speak freely and that the forum was very safe. The server was also located overseas. There was no way the country could control it. As soon as Tangwa heard this, she couldn't help but cause some damage. She exposed all the members of the forum to the police, then waved her sleeves and left without a trace. In the vast online world, Linichin had seen countless scams, crimes, kidnappings, and a series of dark incidents happening in just a few hours. As long as she did not like it, she would reveal the information and connections that they had painstakingly tried to hide. Every time, she would leave without a care in the world. For the past few hours, Tangwa had been having a lot of fun. She did not care about the things she had done or how much she had shocked the police and the criminals. After that, for a long time, they did not dare to do bad things on the internet. They all agreed that the country had a very powerful computer expert. He was the kind of person who could fight against 100 people. They were no match for him at all. In the end, when she was almost done, she didn't forget to return to the computer that Xia Yi was using. She hid in a corner and watched Xia Yi play the game live with her own eyes. From nervousness to proficiency, she slowly integrated into her own style. She then ran to Feng Yu's laptop and searched for that familiar fluctuation on the internet. Unfortunately, she didn't find anything. She saw Feng Yu's pained expression and hopeless expression. She sat in the corner and laughed. People only know what's good when they lose something. Tong, you have to understand one thing. Don't do anything that you will regret. Things that have happened can never be repeated. Even if you do, it will be different. She propped up her chin and muttered, even if I've taken my revenge and live a different life from hers, this isn't her anymore. Chapter 742. Young Master Feng, didn't Miss Tang come with you today? Young Master Feng, isn't Miss Tang coming in the afternoon? Young Master Feng, why haven't I seen Miss Tang for so long? I'm starting to miss Miss Tang's coffee. Young Master Feng, when will Miss Tang be free to come over? Faced with his colleagues' questions, Feng Yu was about to suffocate. Almost every day when he walked into the office, countless pairs of eyes would stare at him. They were all asking when Tangwa would be coming. These few days, he was really in agony. He locked himself in his office and stared blankly at the empty coffee cup beside him. He raised his head and looked at the spot where she used to sit. His heart was so uncomfortable that he couldn't breathe. He patted his head in frustration and tried to immerse himself in his work. At this moment, someone knocked on the door. Young Master Feng, someone's looking for you. It seems to be a staff member from the cake shop. That cake shop seems to be very famous. Oh yes, I remember that young Master Feng's birthday is coming up. Could it be that Miss Tang prepared this for young Master Feng? I think it's today. Feng Yu froze. He quickly stood up and rushed out. Are you Mr. Feng, Feng Yu? Other than the expensive cake, there was also an expensive watch inside. The shop manager decided to bring 2 male staff members with her to deliver the cake. Feng Yu nodded stiffly. He clenched his hands in his pockets and moved his lips. Yes, it's me. Happy birthday, Mr. Feng. The shop manager led the staff to sing a birthday song for Feng Yu. Finally, she placed the small and exquisite cake in Feng Yu's hands. This is the cake that Miss Tang ordered for you. And this is the birthday present that Miss Tang prepared for you. Mr. Feng, if there's no problem, please sign for it. Feng Yu stared at the cake and watched in a daze. His mind exploded and went blank. He didn't know what to say at all. Mr. Feng? You must be too happy. I didn't expect Miss Tang to prepare such a surprise for you. Feng Yu came back to his senses and quickly signed for it. He said thank you and took the cake and watch box back to his office. He forgot to thank his colleagues who wished him a happy birthday. Young Master Feng must be overjoyed. Yeah, Miss Tang is so nice. She even prepared a gift for young Master Feng. How could he not be happy? I'm so envious of young Master Feng. His girlfriend comes from a good family. She's pretty, considerate, and gentle. If I had a girlfriend like her, I'd love to protect her for the rest of my life. The moment Feng Yu walked into the office and heard this, she clenched the things in her hands tightly as her eyes welled up with tears. When he opened the cake and saw the conspicuous line of small words on it, he collapsed. 2 streams of hot tears gushed out from his eyes, and his heart ached. I like you more than I like games. Feng Yu finally couldn't bear the suppressed feelings in the depths of her heart. She covered her face with her hands and didn't say a word. Her tears flowed like a river and couldn't be stopped. Look at how much pain he is in. The computer was on, so Tanghua could naturally see Feng Yu's expression. The more painful Feng Yu was, the happier she smiled. This is what you asked for. You just had to dig your own grave. System. I don't want to back down. The cake Xiaoguo ordered is really delicious. The system looked at Feng Yu's tear-filled face and took small bites, as if he couldn't bear to eat the cake. It sighed inwardly. Damn it. The host is a demon's little vixen. Whoever provokes her will be unlucky. However, this Feng Yu deserved it. I really can't bear to eat it all at once, so I'll put it in the fridge and eat a bite every day. In the future, I'll wear this watch Xiaoguo gave me. Xiaoguo, I'll find you. Chapter 743. Young Master Feng, what do you think? All the members of the virtual reality game designer team were in the meeting room. Sensing that Feng Yu was distracted, they felt strange and had to remind him. They looked at each other and saw Feng Yu caressing the expensive watch on his wrist. Was it a gift from Miss Tang? Was young Master Feng, who had always been meticulous in his work, thinking of her? One of the staff members who often watched Tanghua's live streams was puzzled. Miss Tang had to live stream every day and did not go anywhere to play. Would it not be easy for young Master Feng to see Miss Tang? Feng Yu snapped out of his daze and saw that everyone was staring at his wrist. He hurriedly covered the watch with his sleeve. Everyone looked at each other. It was not like they could take it away from him. Young Master Feng, what do you think of the promotion for all our games? Didn't you say that you wanted Miss Tang to help us promote the game? You even wanted to design a horror game for her. With Miss Tang's understanding of the game, it would definitely be a feast for the eyes of our future users. Feng Yu had been distracted and did not hear about the plan at all. Show me the proposal. Of course, no one dared to say anything. Feng Yu was the one who had led the entire team. He was also in charge of the Feng family's games. However, he was more focused on the development and design of the game. This made people feel that he didn't look like a businessman. That's all. However, we'll find someone else to test the game. After all, the audience for horror games is a minority. Many people don't like it. We don't need her to promote the game. Feng Yu lowered his head and pursed his lips. Although Little E was good at games, her understanding of the game was not as good as Xiaoguo. Understood. We have prepared 2 other games that are suitable for the general public. As long as we optimize them further, we can start the closed beta. Actually, we are very confident. After all, this is a feast for the game. No one would want to miss it. However, if we have a good host to help us promote the live stream, the experience for the users will be more intuitive. On the day itself, we can even choose 10,000 beta users to play the game with the host. Let's do as you think. It's a good plan. After the meeting, someone teased Feng Yu. Young Master Feng, were you thinking about Miss Tang just now? As she spoke, she couldn't help but glance at Feng Yu's wrist. Miss Tang is such a nice person to have prepared such a fitting gift for you. In the face of her colleagues' envy, Feng Yu felt bitter in her heart. She only said, "She's really good. All right, I won't disturb young Master Feng anymore. Today is young Master Feng's birthday. Your family must have prepared a birthday banquet for you." Her colleague smiled and said, "I'm guessing that Miss Tang must be doing her styling or beauty treatment now. She might even be waiting for you downstairs. But to be honest, young Master Feng, you can't just let that girl keep looking for you. You should go and look for Miss Tang occasionally. She used to look for you every day, and even spent the whole afternoon with you. She's really patient." This colleague was one of the company's technical backbones, and she was also a woman. Feng Yu's legs were a little numb as she walked out of the company. She subconsciously looked at the spot where Tanghua liked to stand. Her eyes were a little sore. At this moment, his phone rang. He pressed the answer button, and his mother's voice came through. "Ayu, the birthday party is ready. Remember to bring Xiaoguo over." Chapter 744. I haven't seen her in a few days. Has she been busy lately? Did you make Xiaoguo angry? All right, let's not talk about it anymore. Remember to bring my daughter-in-law home. Before Feng Yu could say anything, Lu Yun hung up. He opened the car door and drove toward Tangwa's house as he dialed a familiar number. Little E. Have you gotten off work? Are you coming over today? It's my birthday today. Oh, is it you's birthday? I'm sorry. I've been streaming all this time and forgot about such an important day. I'll get off the stream and order a cake for you. What flavor do you like? I'm coming over to pick you up. My family has prepared a birthday party for me. I'll take you to get styled and picked out a dress. Do I still need to get styled? I already look pretty good. Do I still need to pick out a dress? Xiaoyi was a little dumbfounded. She had never experienced anything like this before. She came from an ordinary family and only liked to play games. She was different from other girls. When she had pocket money, she would buy snacks and decorations. On the other hand, Gu Ninjia would save money and wait until the weekends to play games at internet cafes. After all, the internet fees would be cheaper and she could even play games for an entire night. It was also because she had played games all night that she had suddenly died. Get off the stream first. I'll be right there. Feng Yu hung up the phone and was a little stunned. Had it not always been his wish to save little Yi's life? Why did he feel a sense of regret now? However, when he thought about how little Yi did not know anything and how he was the one who had done everything, he could not blame her. Even if Xia Yi could not control that perfect body, he had to accept it and protect it from any harm. When he arrived at Tangwa's house, he opened the door and walked in. When he saw that Xia Yi was still playing games, he could not help but frown. You haven't finished streaming yet? Yes, I have. I heard that there's a new game. Since you weren't here, I played it for a while. Wait a little longer. This round will be over soon. It'll take at most 20 minutes. Feng Yu looked at the time and saw that Xia Yi was in high spirits, so she sat aside and waited. His gaze never left Xia Yi. They had the same body and the same face, but when Xia Yi was playing the game, she was making threatening gestures and showing annoyed and childish expressions from time to time. These expressions should not have appeared on such an exquisite face. Little E, can you put your legs down when you play the game? Feng Yu really couldn't stand the sight of Xia Yi holding her phone and sitting on the chair in her pajamas. She rested her slender legs on the computer table rudely. If she wasn't Xia Yi, he would have been angry. However, he was the one who allowed Xia Yi to have this body. We're at home, and there's no one around. That's why we can relax. Isn't playing games supposed to relax? Xia Yi raised her head in confusion. Soon, she didn't care about Feng Yu anymore. The game had reached a critical point. If she didn't take it seriously, she would definitely lose. Feng Yu turned her head away. Then you play first. This was Xiaoguo's house. Based on Xia Yi's personality, she would probably destroy it if she stayed here for too long. Feng Yu planned to enter Tangwa's room to put away some valuable things. He would keep Xiaoguo's favorite clothes, jewelry, and bags in the room next door that he didn't live in. He would then lock it up. Xiaoguo wouldn't be angry when she returned. Feng Yu was about to go to the other room. However, when he opened the walk-in closet that he thought was empty, he was stunned. Chapter 745. The cloakroom, which was supposed to be empty, was already full. It wasn't Tangwa's clothes, nor were it Tangwa's bags and accessories. All the clothes here were men's clothes. The styles and brands were what he usually wore. Those accessories, ties, and belts seemed to be prepared for him. Feng Yu's eyes suddenly became hot. She stood outside the cloakroom and was speechless for a long time. She couldn't stop the hot tears in her eyes. She was sad, as if her heart was being cut by a knife. It was too painful. Where are you? I'm done. Hearing Xia Yi's voice, Feng Yu hurriedly closed the door of the cloakroom. When she came out, she also closed the door tightly. Everything in the cloakroom was prepared for him by Xiaoguo. When did she prepare it? Why didn't he know anything about it? What kind of plan did Xiaoguo have for their future? Xiaoguo had said before that he would take him to see her parents. Feng Yu didn't dare to think about it anymore and hurriedly walked out. He took Xia Yi to the hairdresser to get styled and bought her a gown. Finally, he told her not to expose herself in front of his parents. There were a lot of people tonight, so he told her to speak less and keep a smile all the time. If someone said something to her, she could pretend to be sick and get away with it. Xia Yi listened very carefully and said that there was no problem. She was also afraid that she would expose herself. If she exposed herself, she wouldn't have such a good life. Everything seemed to go smoothly at the birthday party. Xia followed Fengyu and kept a smile all the time. Because she had imitated Tangwa's movements and expressions for a while, and many people were not familiar with her, she indeed passed the test. But Fengyu's parents still felt that she was a little strange. Xia was still sensible and quickly said that she was a little uncomfortable. Her parents were worried about her, so they asked Fengyu to send her back early. After Fengyu sent Xia home, he received a message from his parents, asking him to take good care of Tangwa. They were very satisfied with Tangwa. They also told him that there were not many girls who liked him purely now. They had met many young girls, but none of them were like Tangwa, who liked him wholeheartedly. When Fengyu heard this, he felt even worse. Is that so? His parents also realized that Xiaoguo's love for him was very pure. Ayu, a few days ago, Xiaoguo bought you a lot of clothes and accessories for all 4 seasons. You've been working overtime for the past few days, and I didn't have time to tell you that I put it in the walk-in closet next to yours. Xiaoguo even gave you a set. How do you wear it every day? This child is really meticulous. Mother Feng's face was full of praise. She had never seen such a perfect and capable girl. She was really satisfied. Fengyu was pushed into the cloakroom stiffly. Seeing that the branded clothes he often wore were all here, he hurriedly sent Mother Feng away and locked himself inside. He squatted in a corner, took out his phone, and opened Tangwa's live broadcast. He watched her previous live broadcast videos over and over again, with tears falling on the screen. Tangwa looked at Fengyu's silent crying on the phone. She held her chin and clicked her tongue. I didn't expect a man to cry like a flood. He can't stop crying. System, you're the devil. I'm so sad. At this moment, the phone rang. It was Tangwa. Fengyu was stunned for a moment. He picked it up and subconsciously wanted to say Xiaoguo, but he quickly realized that the person calling him was not Tangwa, but Xia. Chapter 746. I left your USB here. I opened it out of curiosity. There are 3 games inside, and they are all horror games. I want to play them. I was interested when I saw the names. You prepared these games for me, right? Actually, I just wanted to inform you. Although I'm not that interested in horror games, it's a live stream. If the audience likes these 3 games, they should be good. Okay, I'm going to try them out. I won't disturb you. Fengyu didn't even have time to speak before Xia hung up. He frowned. He had prepared these 3 games on the spur of the moment. He had originally planned to let Xia play them. He wanted to play with Xia, so he didn't care about the USB. But Xia opened it directly, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. But soon, he was immersed in sadness again and completely forgot about Xia. He looked at the clothes and accessories in a daze and recalled the good times of the past few months. The more he recalled, the sadder he felt. Tangwa wasn't interested in watching the man's flood. Hearing Xia words, the 3 games in the USB should be the 3 games mentioned in the plot. These 3 games had a lot to do with the storyline. She decided to follow the storyline. Following the network, she got into Xia's computer skillfully. The game interface was already opened. She squatted aside and waited for the game to load. The first game Xia chose was Zombie Bride. There were various difficult levels. The boss of this game was the Zombie King, and the bride was a human in the game. The player's mission was to successfully save the bride from the zombie town. There were 2 ways to pass the level. First, kill all the zombies and take the bride away. Second, take the bride out of the zombie town when all the zombies and the Zombie King weren't paying attention. No matter which method it was, it sounded very difficult. But of course, the game would give the player something to deal with the zombies. It was a variety of charms from Mao Mountain. Some could freeze the zombies, and some could destroy the little zombies. It was said that there was a charm hidden in the zombie town that could destroy the Zombie King. Other than the freeze charm and the destroy charm, there were 2 very special charms, the stealth charm and the invisibility charm. If the player could find these 2 charms, there was a high chance that he could secretly take the bride away. But it wasn't easy. When Tangwa saw that the game was almost loaded, she controlled her soul to enter the game. When she came back to her senses, she realized that she was wearing a red bridal gown and was sitting in a sedan, being carried in a certain direction. She was stunned. Tongzi, is this the legendary power of the plot? It should be. Tangwa smiled. That's quite interesting. She looked around and lifted the curtain of the palanquin. She looked at the darkness around her. Every blade of grass and tree looked very real. It was as if this wasn't a game world, but a real world. She looked in the direction they were heading and vaguely saw some buildings. She understood that it was probably Zombie Town. Now, she was the bride waiting to be married? She touched her face and found that there were still tears. She clicked her tongue and said, "It's so realistic. I'm starting to suspect that this is a small world." However, this was just a game world. It was just that the characters in the game would treat this place as the real world. The palanquin soon arrived at the small town. The bearers carried the palanquin into the small town and put it down. Then, they quickly slipped away as the cold wind blew around them. Chapter 747. Tangwa lifted the curtain and saw the coachman and bridesmaids running away quickly, as if there were man-eating things here. She held her chin and waited in the sedan for a while. When she was about to go out, she heard some noise outside. She glanced outside and saw a large group of zombies jumping around the sedan. They lifted the curtain and looked at her, sniffing as if to confirm whether she was a human or not. Finally, she saw satisfaction on the zombie's pale face. She couldn't help but twitch the corner of her mouth. Did they have to be so realistic? She dared to say that from Xia Yi's angle, she couldn't see the subtle expressions of the game characters. Even the characters and scenery in the upcoming holographic online game couldn't be as realistic as her. It was exactly the same as reality. The zombie in front of her seemed to be of a higher level. His body wasn't as stiff as the surrounding zombies, but he was still jumping around. He waved his stiff hand, and Tangwa's sedan started to move. Zombies carrying a sedan? I'll be jolted to death. She communicated with the system. The system said weakly, "I don't know. Dear host, stay calm." But what happened soon made them think too much. The zombies carrying the sedan didn't jump around, but directly flew. She could feel that it was very stable. She wasn't afraid of being surrounded by terrifying zombies. She just lifted the curtain and looked at the night sky of the town. The leading zombie suddenly turned around and stared at Tangwa strangely. Finally, it seemed to confirm something and turned back with relief. Tangwa found that the zombie's behavior was really strange. Not long after, the sedan was put down, and a stiff voice came from outside. "Bride, get off the sedan." Tangwa consciously got off the sedan. After traveling through so many worlds, it was the first time she experienced such a situation. She was very curious and didn't worry about her own safety. Tangwa walked out of the sedan and saw a big house in front of her. The leading zombie said again, "Go in." Tangwa lifted the hem of her wedding dress and went in very obediently, which made the zombie leader feel very strange. It looked at her for a long time and made sure that there was nothing wrong with her before it looked away. The leader of the zombies pushed open the door to a newly decorated room. Tangwa walked in, and after a while, the zombies brought her some food. She confirmed that the food was really for humans, so she took a bite without hesitation. The zombie leader stared wide-eyed at Tangwa, who was enjoying her food. It was obvious that with its stiff brain, it could not figure out why the bride in front of it was not afraid at all. In the end, he didn't see any problems and had to leave. "It tastes pretty good." Tangwa communicated with the system. "It's actually so interesting. I wonder if that zombie king is also interesting." In the storyline, there wasn't much information about the zombie king, and he didn't appear much. In the story, the original owner's situation was different from hers. She appeared in the game and became the bride. The original host was able to control the bride's body by controlling her own brainwaves, so it was fundamentally different. She was very sure that the current body was her body. She had complete control, and the bride was just a game character without a soul. Just as she was thinking, the door was pushed open. She raised her head and looked at the figure who walked in. That's right, he walked in. His body wasn't stiff, and other than his face being a little pale, he didn't look like a zombie. She stopped eating. This old zombie should be the highest level. He could actually walk in, she thought. Chapter 748. Tangwa was still holding a drumstick in her hand. The drumstick had already been bitten, and there was a neat row of teeth marks on it. While she was sizing up the Zombie King was also sizing her up. Their eyes met, and they just stared at each other without saying a word. In the end, she saw the Zombie King smile at her. He even sat beside her and said with interest, "Are all game characters so realistic now?" Tangwa? Question mark. Before Tangwa could react, the Zombie King reached out his hand towards her face and pinched it. At the same time, he clicked his tongue and praised, "What a rich expression. I thought I saw the real person." Tangwa, what's going on? Is this old zombie's character designed to be funny? This zombie bride was actually a horror game with a funny plot? She kept her composure and decided to observe the situation first. This old zombie was indeed a little interesting. She took a bite of the drumstick and continued to observe the other party's reaction. The other party was stunned for a moment. Then he sighed with admiration and nostalgia. It seems that the Fong family has produced a powerful character. At this moment, Tangwa felt that things were not as simple as they seemed. Game characters could be emotional and experienced. Even if they were very intelligent, they would never use such an expression and tone to directly talk to their bride about the Fong family. Thinking of her own situation, she had some guesses. Could it be that this old zombie had the brainwaves of a real person, or was it related to the Fong family? Bride, is the drumstick delicious? Perhaps the Zombie King was too lonely. He actually sat on the side and started to tease this game character with rich expressions. Do you still want it? Tangwa was speechless. System. Ha ha ha, this is too funny. He was sure that the host was about to do something. Sure enough, after hearing Tangwa's reply, the system program was a little messed up. Tangwa took a bite of the drumstick and chewed slowly. Do you have a lot of drumsticks? My family is poor. I've never eaten chicken drumsticks before. System. He knew this would happen. Yes, I have a lot of chicken legs. The Zombie King's interest was piqued. He felt that this bride was very interesting. When he woke up from the game, he tried to think of a way to get out, but it seemed like there was no way. He was trapped in the single-player story game with no internet, and there was no way to communicate with the outside world. He didn't expect to meet such an interesting character. Reflecting the moonlight outside the window, the Zombie King's pale face was actually very handsome. He was also wearing a bright red wedding dress. The corners of his lips curled up as if he had found a fun toy. Do you want to eat? Yes. Tangwa nodded obediently. I want to eat drumsticks every day. System. Fuck him. The Zombie King's smile softened. If he could talk to such an interesting character every time he appeared, it would be very fun. In a standalone horror game like this, he wouldn't be lonely anymore. He was just afraid that such an interesting character design would not appear every time. After all, this could be an accidental trigger of the game character's hidden attribute. If it was like this every time, there would be a day when he would be bored. But now, he was still very interested. The Zombie King pointed at the chicken drumsticks on the table and said with a charming voice, "Be this king's bride, and you will have chicken drumsticks to eat every day." According to the settings of the game characters, he guessed that even if the bride was not afraid of him, once he asked her to be his bride, she would definitely resist. He really wanted to see what kind of expression she would use to resist. Chapter 749. Will I be able to eat chicken drumsticks every day if I become your bride? Tangwa held the drumstick in one hand and asked with an expectant gaze, as if she had never eaten a drumstick in her life. The Zombie King couldn't help but smile. Yes, you can eat as much as you want to be my bride. Not only will there be drumsticks, there will also be all kinds of delicacies. You can eat whatever you want. He didn't believe that the bride would still agree to it. However, he was intrigued by the bride's reaction so far. Were the characters' emotions in horror games so complicated nowadays? Tangwa's eyes curved into crescents. You're not lying to me? Why would I lie to you? The Zombie King answered seriously. Why would he lie to a game character? He just wanted to see how she would react. It had been a long time since he did something so interesting. Tangwa put down the drumstick and moved the stool to the Zombie King's side. Her beautiful eyes looked directly into the Zombie King's eyes. The Zombie King was also stunned by this game character. It was very realistic. The bride looked at him with such a serious expression, His heart couldn't help but beat. If he was a game character, perhaps he would really do whatever it took to keep the bride here and not allow anyone to take her away. Then I will be your bride from now on. Tangwa replied with a smile. She thought that guy wasn't in this world. She didn't expect him to run into the game. It was still the familiar soul fluctuation. It was still the transmigration without memories. The other party was much more miserable than her. He directly transmigrated into the game and seemed unable to return. Looking at such an interesting game character, he couldn't help but tease. Who knew how long he would be trapped in the game to be so bored? TSK, how pitiful. Tongzi, we're actually very lucky, aren't we? System, I don't want to back down. But when he heard that the host was sure that the Zombie King was the mysterious transmigrator, he secretly became excited. Glancing at the slowly increasing energy, he became even happier. What? The Zombie King was stunned. What did you say? I said that I will be your bride from now on. Tangwa repeated, looking at him with a confused gaze. You said that if I want to eat drumsticks every day, I will be your bride. Zombie King. Shouldn't you refuse even if you beat me to death? Was there some sort of boss in this game? Tangwa didn't care. She moved closer, hugged the Zombie King's arm, and said with a smile, Husband, you didn't lie to me before, right? I'm your bride. You can't abandon me. You have to be responsible for me. Caught off guard by the game character's teasing, the Zombie King's mind was a little stiff, and he didn't know how to respond. No, wasn't this a little different from the background story of the game? With a serious expression, he glanced at Tangwa, who was hugging his arm. Her cute and obedient look made his fingers move uncontrollably. He really wanted to pinch her face. He felt that the pinch he had made earlier was especially nice to the touch. Husband, are you going back on your words? Do you think that I eat too much and can't afford to raise you? Do you not want me to be your bride? Tangwa pursed her lips, her eyes flashing with tears. She felt wronged and was afraid of being abandoned, causing the Zombie King to blurt out, No, this king did not go back on his word. That's good. Tangwa held Zombie King's arm with one hand and picked up a drumstick to gnaw on. Chapter 750. Before I came here, I heard from the villagers that you can't go back after coming to this town. The people living here are all terrifying zombies. I was indeed a bit scared before, but after coming in, the zombies didn't seem to hurt me. They are much friendlier than the people in the town. The Zombie King's mouth twitched. What should he say? When he was still a human, he did attract all kinds of women, but he didn't think that he would be able to attract the bride who was originally hiding and afraid of him in the game. The fact that they were able to appear meant that there were players playing this game. He was a bit curious. If the player couldn't take the bride away, and the bride was willing to marry him, what kind of reaction would the player have? For some reason, the Zombie King was looking forward to it. Thinking that the woman holding his arm was just a game character, he didn't feel that uncomfortable. He looked at her with interest as she ate the drumstick with relish and ordered his housekeeper to bring more delicious food. Husband, you are such a good person. Tangwa wasn't stingy with her praise. The villagers are all guessing how long I can live here. Although husband is a zombie, I don't think you are scary. A handsome and gentle man like husband can't be found in the entire village. The Zombie King was full of smiles after being praised. She was really a cute bride. He raised his hand to pat her head and asked, Is life not good in the village? How can it be good? My family is poor, and I have 2 younger sisters and 3 younger brothers. This time, when they heard that husband was going to get married, in order to get some money, they let me marry you. Although he knew that this was the setting of the game, the Zombie King still felt pity for Tangwa's background when he heard her words. Then you can be at ease and stay here with this king. You won't have to live such a poor and difficult life anymore. As long as husband doesn't go back on his words and doesn't throw me out of Zombie Town, of course I am willing to stay by your side. The Zombie King took a deep breath. It was too realistic. If he faced this kind of bride every day, he probably wouldn't be able to control himself and would want to grow old with her. Unfortunately, she was just a game character. Tangwa was almost full. She said to the Zombie King, Husband, I want to take a bath, then we can rest. She clearly felt the other party's body stiffen for a moment, and her heart bloomed with joy. Even though her personality had changed, her degree of shyness had not increased. She would become shy as soon as he teased her. She was really cute. Ben Wong will have the butler prepare it for you. He was the biggest boss in this game. As long as he was in Zombie Town, he could get whatever he wanted. Soon, the head butler, who was also the zombie leader who had been staring at Tangwa, prepared water for her. The plot hadn't started yet, so everything was happening in secret. She guessed that Xia Yi was still outside of Zombie Town. If she wanted to come to Zombie Town, she would have to go through some tests. Therefore, no one could see what was happening here. She got up and walked to the back of the screen to take a comfortable bath. It's a little realistic. Even the bathwater was so realistic. Wasn't this a small world of its own? Perhaps to the characters in the game, this place was real. However, to the people in the real world, this place was illusory and created by them. After taking a bath, she came out from the back and saw the Zombie King sitting upright. She held his arm and asked, "Hubby, do you want me to help you?" Chapter 751. No, that won't be necessary. The Zombie King quickly stood up. Go to sleep. Without waiting for Tangwa's response, he quickly walked out of the door. Although he was a game character, he wasn't that crazy. Tangwa looked at the closed door and listened to the sound of hurried footsteps. She rolled on the bed and laughed out loud. This is too funny. It seems that the Zombie King doesn't know that I'm a real person. She sat cross-legged and thought, if he knew that I'm a person, how would he react? Well, according to my irresponsible guess, he would fall head over heels in love with the host, and he would go wherever you pointed. He wouldn't avoid you like he is now. He shouldn't be interested in a relationship with a game character, but after knowing that the host is a human, he wouldn't have so many concerns. He finally understood how much the host affected the mysterious traveler. He couldn't stand it after flirting with her for a while, and he would appear at the right time every time. Is that so? Tangwa raised her eyebrows. Then I won't fall off so early. System. Host, your big cutie will be broken by you. Xia Yi should be here soon. According to the plot, Xia Yi will come to the town to find the bride on the first night of the bride's arrival in Zombie Town. Tangwa didn't plan to sleep. She put on her clothes and leisurely lay on the bed while chatting with the system. Later, she remembered that she hadn't been to the group for a long time. Every time she went to a new world, she would ask the system to show her face to show her existence. But she still missed her friends in the group. Open the group. I want to talk to them. Campus bell. Is everyone there? Big Brother Ziyun. Big Brother Imo. Big Brother Chi Xiao. Ziyun, Imo Yuntian, and Chi Xiao appeared at the same time and replied, Yes, sister. Tangwa was happy. It was good that they were there. How have you been? Ziyun. Not bad. Not long after you left, the three of us ascended to the celestial realm. At first, it wasn't easy. Originally, we were considered top-notch experts in the cultivation world. Only after arriving in the immortal realm did we realize that we had to start from scratch. That kind of disparity was indeed not a good feeling. Scarlet Heaven True Monarch. In order to survive and find resources to cultivate, I returned to my old profession, which is refining tools for others. If I had known that spirit stones were useless in the immortal realm, I would have left them to the juniors in my sect. Imo Yuntian. After we reach the immortal realm, the three of us will join forces. I'll be in charge of developing our forces, while Ziyun and Chi Xiao will refine pills and weapons respectively. We'll slowly accumulate our strength. He had encountered many dangers as well. In short, it was similar to the world of cultivation. Those with bigger fists had the upper hand. Now that he had slowly stabilized, he would no longer be bullied. It was also because your disciples had to ascend for a period of time that we were able to avoid a lot of danger. Tangwa looked at them and sighed. That's good. I haven't talked to you guys for a long time. I was worried that something might have happened to you guys. Ziyun Dao Master. Don't worry, little sister. We're not considered a top force in the immortal realm, but we'll have no problem protecting ourselves. You, on the other hand, will have to move to a small world after a short period of time. That place is filled with endless dangers. You have to be careful. We're all looking forward to meeting you again one day. Imo Yuntian, your disciples have asked about you. We told them that you've already left and are no longer in the cultivation world. They were very sad and wanted to continue their fate with you. Chapter 752. Tangwa looked at the long paragraphs in the group and was stunned. She had transmigrated to so many worlds. Almost every character in every world was just a passerby to her. Starting from that mysterious transmigrator to joining this group, she seemed to be remembered by people in this endless transmigration. They were like her. As long as they continued to cultivate, they would live forever and have an unlimited lifespan. As long as they existed in the group, they would always be in contact. Thinking of this, she felt even better. I understand, she replied. I hope there will be a chance to go to your celestial world and meet you again. But the transmigration to that world is not something I can control. If she could control the transmigration to these small worlds, everything would be different. At that time, the transmigration would no longer be about living, but about having fun. The others in the group also greeted her, saying that they hadn't seen her in a long time. She told them about the things that happened after she left the celestial world and transmigrated to the small world. The people in the group listened with great interest and were also amazed. They didn't expect her to have such an interesting experience. Knowing that she was in the game now, they were even more curious. They discussed it for a long time. When they heard how she came to be in the game, they were all angry for her. But they weren't worried about what would happen to her, because she was too amazing, too mysterious, too powerful. Those who hurt her would definitely not have a good ending. She wouldn't stab someone to death. She would only make those who hurt her suffer a fate worse than death. This left a deep impression on Immerse and the others. When they ascended, Lung Yiling had already gone crazy. He became the #1 lunatic in the celestial world. Every time he opened his mouth, he would call her Tangwa. He would also look at her wooden sculpture with a silly smile and call her Saintess Ant. Immerse couldn't do anything about it. That stupid disciple of his had made a mistake, and he had brought it upon himself. The girl's disappearing move was really heart-wrenching. Lung Yiling didn't even have a chance to repent. Everyone, I'll go first. My plot is about to start. I'll play with her for a while. I'll look for you guys when I'm free. Tangwa heard the system's notification and said goodbye to everyone in the group. Then she went offline. She opened her eyes. The door had just been gently pushed open, and a petite figure walked in stealthily. Tangwa looked at her and was a little surprised. She didn't think that this figure would turn into Xia Yi's original appearance in this game. When Xia Yi's character saw Tangwa, she smiled happily. She shushed her and walked to Tangwa's side. I'm here to take you away, Xia Yi's character said. At the same time, Xia Yi, who was controlling the game in the outside world, was a little nervous as she watched her character approach her target. After all, it was still very difficult for her to enter this zombie town. You definitely don't want to marry the terrifying zombie king. In fact, when Xia Yi looked at the screen, the characters in the game were talking to the bride automatically. But from Tangwa's perspective, she was talking to a real human being. Don't be afraid. I will definitely take you out of Zombie Town and send you home safely. From now on, you have to listen to me, understand? Tangwa smiled and asked, why should I listen to you? When Tangwa asked this question, on Xia Yi's screen, the same sentence appeared above the bride's head. Xia Yi was stunned. Chapter 753. Soon, Xia Yi realized that these dialogues must have been set up. Her character should be able to talk to the bride, so she wasn't worried. Her goal now was to make the bride agree to go with her. Then she could bring the bride out of the house to find some key clues and get the items to escape the town. As expected, new dialogues appeared above her character's head. She was relieved when she saw them. It seemed that the game that IU designed for her was really good. If you stay in the zombie town, you'll die. You're a human. How can you be with zombies? You can only live if you come with me. Tangwa smiled. No, I'm not leaving. Who are you? Why are you trying to trick me to leave my husband? Xia Yi was dumbfounded. Were all dialogues in horror games now so emotional? She even called him husband. Had the zombie king successfully brainwashed the bride? Was this to increase the difficulty of the game for the players? No matter what, you have to come with me. You'll die if you stay here. Obviously, Xia Yi's character was getting anxious. Tangwa still said slowly, I won't leave my husband. Why do you want to expose me and my husband? No, you must have been bewitched by the Zombie King. Today, I must take you away. Tangua was overjoyed. Xiayi was dumbfounded when she saw the dialogues that appeared above her character's head. Was there something wrong with the plot? Why did she feel like she was playing the role of an old witch trying to break up a pair of lovers? Husband, come quickly. There's a person who came out of nowhere. She said that she wanted to secretly take me away. She's going to cruelly separate us? Tangua suddenly shouted. Xiayi's character was stunned. Xiayi was also stunned when she saw the dialogues. Was this really okay? Almost as soon as Tangua finished speaking, the Zombie King flew in from outside. He slapped Xiayi's character to the wall and shielded Tangua behind him. He said to his zombie subordinates, "Tie her up." "Yes, King." Tangua was overjoyed. You didn't expect to be played by a game. System. Poor Xiayi. The Zombie King then turned to look at Tangua, as if to confirm if she was really unwilling to leave. Finally, he asked, "Why don't you go with her?" "Husband, don't you want me anymore?" Tangua looked at the Zombie King anxiously. That pitiful look made the Zombie King wonder if he had made a big mistake to make her cry. "That's not what I meant." The Zombie King suddenly felt that even if the bride in front of him was a game character, he didn't want to hurt her, nor did he want to see her show an aggrieved expression, let alone make her cry. "Then why did you ask me if I'm leaving with her? Didn't you say that you wanted me to be your bride?" Zombie King hurriedly stepped forward to coax her. "All right, this king asked the wrong question. It's this king's fault. I have no intention of chasing you away. You can stay here as long as you want, as long as you want." Even if she wanted to leave, he could still go easy on her. This fake Zombie King didn't realize that his principles were slowly disappearing. System. It's a long story. Husband. She wants to break us up. Is it because she secretly likes you that she wants to expose us? The Zombie King didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Could a game character be jealous? Why did he feel a damn joy in his heart? Chapter 754. I don't know her. The Zombie King quickly answered and looked back at the person who was caught. "I'll get someone to chase her out of the town." He gave the chief butler a look and mouthed the words, "Kill her." The chief butler understood. He waved his stiff hand and brought Xiayi's character out. Xiayi was completely stunned in front of the computer. Wasn't this a bit wrong? When she just reacted and was about to escape, she didn't expect the butler to smile at her and say to the zombies in the zombie town, "Bite her to death." Then, the screen in front of her turned black. Then, the words, "Game failed," appeared on the computer screen. She was stunned and extremely depressed. Is this really a simple horror game with a simple plot? She just told the bride that she was going to take her away. She didn't do anything. The bride's reaction was completely unexpected. Could it be that this was the essence of this game, and it was different from the previous games? Tangua naturally knew that the zombies outside had bitten Xiayi's game character to death. If it weren't for the fact that she had to act, she would have laughed out loud. This Zombie King even knew how to pretend to be obedient. Amazing. Remembering that he was a human, it wasn't strange. But it was interesting that a human had developed different feelings for a game character. Husband. Will that bad person come again? Tangua knew that Xiayi would definitely come again. Xiayi was naturally obsessed with games. This kind of scene where she died inexplicably right after she finished her apprenticeship would make her feel resentful. Xiayi would probably keep playing this horror game. Moreover, Xiayi would plan to play it during the live stream because of what happened just now. This made the Zombie King hesitate. The other party would probably come again. It wasn't something that could be solved by killing her once. I'm not sure about that. Husband, just stay here. We are husband and wife. I am your bride. Why don't you live with me? The Zombie King. The bride asked to live with him. How should he answer? He wasn't a game character. He was actually a real person. Tangua tugged at the Zombie King's sleeve with a pitiful look. The Zombie King finally nodded. Okay, I'll rest here. Yes, yes. We are husband and wife. Naturally, we should live together. Tangua found that the Zombie King's ears were visibly red. She was laughing in her heart. He was obviously a zombie, but his ears could actually turn red. Was this AB? Next, The zombie king lay on the same bed with his bride in a daze, his mind still having some dreams. He was actually sleeping with a game character. Fortunately, this was a horror game and not an adult game. The bride did not know that there was something that could not be described between husband and wife. Otherwise, he really didn't know how to deal with it. A game character wanted to live a married life with him. Just thinking about it made him feel incomparably ashamed and beastly. Tangwa wanted to sleep, so she hugged the zombie king and fell asleep. Regardless of whether his body was stiff or not, he was the one who asked her to be his bride, so he shouldn't act shamelessly. Wasn't this a bit strange? He touched his heart and actually felt some warmth. Xia Yi finally came to her senses. Seeing that it was getting late, she also planned to sleep. Tomorrow afternoon, during the live stream, she must live stream this zombie bride with her fans. Chapter 755. Xia Yi woke up at 9:00 in the morning. When she woke up, she remembered the zombie bride horror game she had played last night. She could not help but call Feng Yu to ask if there was anything special about the game. Feng Yu was in the middle of a morning meeting. The quiet meeting room was disrupted by the ringtone. Feng Yu placed the phone on the table. A technical supervisor sitting not far from him glanced at it and saw the words Xiaoguo on the screen. He revealed an ambiguous expression and quickly winked at the others in the meeting room. Young Master Feng, pick up the phone first. Maybe it's something urgent. Tangwa had not been to the company for a long time. Many people missed her. They had been busy recently and did not have much time to watch the live broadcast. For some reason, they felt that watching the live broadcast was not as comfortable as seeing her in person. There were also people who had attended Feng Yu's birthday party. Almost none of them said a word to Tangwa. When they saw her, they only smiled and wanted to say a few words. However, Tangwa turned around and went somewhere else. It was very strange. They did not know that the reason why Tangwa did not talk to them was that she was afraid of being exposed. Feng Yu wanted to hang up the phone, but with everyone watching, she had no choice but to pick up the phone and go out. What's the matter? Xia Yi did not notice the coldness in Feng Yu's voice. She was very curious about the secret of the game. Didn't I play the game you put in the USB drive yesterday? I found the plot of the game a little strange. I've never played that game before. How did you come up with it? I plan to live stream the zombie bride game I played yesterday this afternoon. I've never seen the bride in the game. It's really interesting. Feng Yu frowned. You called me early in the morning just to tell me that the game is interesting? Yes, can I? Didn't we talk about games every day like this? Didn't you let me try the games you designed first? Xia Yi asked in confusion. She then reacted. Did I disturb you? I'm sorry, I was just too excited. I thought that the game was really innovative and would be very popular. So far, I've only played one game. I haven't played the other two yet. Feng Yu's expression softened as she recalled their past experiences. All right, I understand. These 3 games are specially prepared for you. Literally, I'm glad that you like them. I'm busy in the morning, so don't call me if there's nothing important. Just send me a message. He remembered that every time he saw the caller ID, it was always Xiaoguo. He paused and said, I'll buy you a new phone and SIM card after work. The one in your hand belongs to my friend, so keep it. Oh, I got it. After hanging up the phone, Xia Yi's interest faded a little. She fiddled with her phone. Oh right, this is someone else's. She glanced at the live broadcast cubicle. This is someone else's too. She walked out of the cubicle and looked around the elegantly decorated room. It's all someone else's. It didn't belong to her at all. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, she looked at the exquisite and perfect face and the fair and slender body. The body is also someone else's. She touched her face, which was still extremely smooth even without using any skincare products, and thought of her body. Chapter 756. Although she was only in her teens, her skin was sallow and oily because of staying up late to play games. Occasionally, there would be 2 scary pimples on her face. Even if she didn't have these pimples on her face, it couldn't be compared to the beauty of this body. In her teens, she didn't use high-end skincare products at all. At most, she used some moisturizing lotion. The design of the bathroom was very European, and the items placed around it were all things she had never seen before. Xiaoyi lowered her head and didn't dare to look at her in the mirror. If she looked carefully, she would feel very uncomfortable. This beautiful face didn't belong to her. Everything she enjoyed didn't belong to her. It was only because of an accident that she got all of this. Once she looked at her in the mirror, she would see the inferiority hidden in the depths of her beautiful appearance. The inferiority that only she could see. She didn't know anything when she walked out of this beautiful house. She should be glad that the owner of this body liked games and was a game streamer. She even wondered if the owner would never come back. If the owner didn't come back, would she be able to occupy all of this forever? Xiaoyi quickly shook her head. How could she have such evil thoughts? All of this didn't belong to her. How could she be so vicious? It was time for her to wash her face, put on a perfect light makeup, and order a delicious takeout. Finally, she sat in front of the computer and familiarized herself with this strange world. She wanted to integrate into it as soon as possible. If the owner of this body came back one day, she might not be able to enjoy such a relaxed life. She had to prepare for her future life. Maybe you would find her a body that was poor but suitable for her. The owner must have no breath of life before she could possess it. Therefore, she couldn't be greedy for everything in this body. Yes, Xiaoyi, you can't be greedy for these things. It's wrong. Xiaoyi washed her face quickly. She glanced at the expensive brand facial cleanser that Tanghua had bought. She planned to wash her face with water today. However, after washing her face twice, she still felt that something was wrong. She stared at her face in the mirror for a while and smiled. This body belongs to someone else. If I only wash my face with water and don't use any makeup, she might be angry when she comes back and sees my bad skin. That's right. My body now belongs to you's friend. I have to take good care of it and not spoil it. Cosmetics, facial cleansers, these things all expire. I'm using them for this body. Why didn't I understand that? Xiaoyi said and began to use everything on the sink easily. However, I won't touch the valuables of the original owner. In the future, I will only use the money I earn from the live broadcast to buy things. After thinking it through, Xiaoyi let out a long sigh of relief, as if the guilt had lessened a lot. In the afternoon, she turned on her live stream and began to stream the game for her fans. She had almost imitated Tangwa's style. Perhaps it was because her brain waves had wandered in the online world, coupled with the muscle memory of this body. None of her fans realized that something was wrong. In the game, Tanghua also took a nap. She looked at the sky outside. It was still dark. It's not a worldlet. It's a game world, Tanghua said with a smile. There shouldn't be daylight here. She glanced around, but the zombie king was already gone. Chapter 757. There was a lot of food on the table, but the most eye-catching one was the big plate of chicken legs. It seemed that the zombie king thought that she really liked to eat chicken legs. Tanghua couldn't help but laugh. What an adorable person. She didn't stand on ceremony at all and started eating. Soon, she heard some noise in the room. She turned around and saw Xiaoyi's character crawling in from a hole in the room. She was covered in dust and gave her a silly smile when she looked at her. She almost spat out the food in her mouth. Shuh! Xiaoyi's character made a shushing gesture to Tanghua. She looked around carefully and slowly moved in front of Tanghua. Xiaoyi was actually a little nervous in front of the computer, especially when she saw the bride gnawing on a chicken leg. Was this game a joke? A horror game? I'm here to save you. Come with me. I can take you out of the zombie town and send you home. I guarantee that you can get out of here alive. Tanghua giggled. Why do I have to go home? Xiaoyi was obviously stunned. A sentence popped up above her character's head. This is a scary zombie town. You're a human. You'll be turned into a zombie by the zombie king sooner or later. There are a lot of chicken legs here. I'm not going back. The audience watching the live broadcast saw the bride's reaction, and the whole broadcast room was in an uproar. They all asked what kind of horror game it was and whether it was a comedy game. The bride's reaction was really out of their expectations. Today, the host told them that there was a very interesting game. Was this the bride's reaction? Tanghua gnawed on a chicken leg, which made the audience in the broadcast room widen their eyes. Did she have to do this? Bride, aren't you a little inelegant like this? You have to come with me. It'll be too late if you don't, Xiaoyi's character said again. Tanghua glanced at her. You can go. I don't want to go. What can you do if you send me back? My family is very poor. I can't even get a chicken leg in a year. I have a lot of brothers and sisters. If you send me back, my parents will sell me to Squire Wang in the town. Squire Wang was 70 years old this year and had more than 20 concubines. It was said that he couldn't even walk properly. If you save me from here, aren't you pushing me into a fire pit? Xiaoyi was dumbfounded. The audience watching the live stream was also dumbfounded. Bride, do you have to be so real? Some people in the live broadcast room were silent. They had seen similar plots before, where the heroic protagonist saved some pitiful people. At that time, they were happy for the righteous hero, especially after the poor guy was saved. But they never seemed to think about what kind of life these poor people would have after they were sent home. Weren't these pitiful people sent here by their families? Their loved ones were willing to let them die. After sending them back, their loved ones might not be happy. Just as the bride said, it was likely that they would really be pushed into another fire pit. The protagonists represented justice. They only saved the poor people from a fiery pit. In fact, they couldn't save these poor people at all. It was obviously a horror game, but many people in the live stream fell into deep thought. Chapter 758. No matter what, you have to leave this place, Xiaoyi's character continued. Tanghua replied, My husband treats me very well. He gives me drumsticks and is not fierce to me. He's very gentle. I don't want to leave. No, you're a human and he's a zombie. He'll hurt you sooner or later. Tanghua smiled. You're not my husband. How do you know he'll hurt me? She pointed at the food on the table. He listens to me and says that if I don't want to leave, he won't chase me away. Compared to my family, he treats me the best in the world. Once I leave Zombie Town, I may never find someone who treats me as well as he does. Whether he's a human or a zombie, I'm willing to stay here. Will I be in your way if I don't leave? I can decide my own life and death. You're a busybody, and you even dug a hole in my home. Since we're both humans, I won't call you my husband this time. You can leave. No, you have to leave with me. The audience in the live broadcast room was a little angry. The bride doesn't want to leave. Why do you have to make her leave? That's right. She's living a good life. The Zombie King doesn't seem fierce. If he really wants to hurt her, he definitely won't be so nice to her. If it were me, I wouldn't leave either. Compared to marrying an old man who has more than 20 concubines, I'd rather be in a relationship with a zombie. Tanghua clearly saw the reaction of the audience in the live broadcast room. She was in a very happy mood. She continued, You should leave now. When my husband comes, he will catch you and let his subordinates bite you to death. Ha ha ha, this bride knows how to threaten. She's amazing. I'm a fan of the bride in this game. Xiaoyi's character was set to take the bride away. Xiaoyi also wanted to pass the game and take the bride away. The bride didn't agree. She didn't find the hidden plot to break through, so she could only let the character talk to the bride. The Zombie King is a zombie after all. He can't be nice to you forever. And your family will always be your family. They won't want you to die. Not to mention the fans in the live broadcast room. Even Xiaoyi herself felt that this sentence was very hypocritical. If the family really didn't want the bride to die, why would they send her out? Tanghua felt that it was about time. She shouted outside, Husband, that bad person from yesterday is here again. She wants to break us up. Hearing the bride's words, the audience in the live streaming room was stunned. The bad guy from yesterday? They were all very suspicious. Could it be that the bride of this game still had memories? Xiaoyi was also surprised that the bride remembered her. What kind of game was this? She was very sure that this was a single-player horror game. Just as everyone was confused, Zombie King flew in from outside and slapped Xiaoyi's character onto the wall. The fans in the live stream, ha ha ha, what a pitiful streamer. There was no other streamer who had it worse. Amazing, my Zombie King. For some reason, he felt that the Zombie King and the bride were a perfect match. What should I do? I must have been poisoned. I'm actually hoping that the Zombie King and his bride would ruthlessly abuse the streamer. 1. You are not alone. 1. You're really not alone. I also want to see the streamer get abused. Chapter 759. Husband, why does she always want to break us up? Are you sure she doesn't have a crush on you? Tangwa hugged the Zombie King's arm and asked with jealousy. The Zombie King was speechless. It was so real that he thought he had married a real wife. But seeing her jealous look, he couldn't help but explain, "No, there's no such thing. I don't know where she came from. She's not as beautiful as you. She's so ugly that I don't like her." Husband, do you mean that if she's prettier than me, you'll like her? No, it's not like that. The Zombie King was a little confused. No matter what she looks like, I don't like her. Tangwa pondered for a moment before she finally understood. Then what you mean is that you only have eyes for me, right? The Zombie King let out a sigh of relief and smiled. That's right. This king only has eyes for you. That's great. Husband, I think I'm right. You must be the best person in the world to me. How can I leave with her? Being looked at so seriously by Tangwa and hearing her words, no one would not be moved. The Zombie King was not a real game character. He was a real person. How could he not be moved? He didn't know who in the Feng family designed this game, but he was moved. He even felt a little regretful that she was just a game character. He pressed the back of her head and laughed softly. As long as you don't leave here, I'll be good to you. I won't leave here. I'll be good to you, husband. In the live broadcast room, oh my God. I was caught off guard and fed a mouthful of dog food by the poor guy in the horror game. It's so scary these days. Even game characters are feeding us dog food. Why do I feel that the streamer is a little like Fahai? I still hope that the Zombie King can abuse the streamer. Don't pass this game. If you do, I'll be very sad. After all, the bride and the Zombie King seem to love each other deeply and are a good match. Streamer, you can't be the bad guy. Xiai was going crazy. She was being played by the game. But she was really a person who had to pass the game. She pursed her lips and planned to continue. If she didn't pass the game, she wouldn't play other games. Husband, what should we do with this bad guy? Tangwa pointed at Xiai's character, who had been tied up, and asked, will she come again? This Zombie King was somewhat helpless. This king doesn't know either. Then let's chase her out first. Tangwa expressed that she still had to maintain the image of a bride. In any case, the Zombie King directly ordered the zombies to bite the other party to death. She could just say that she wanted to chase them out. System. Maintain my ass, it's already collapsed to the point of no return. The Zombie King's face was taut as he held his bride's hand and waved his hand. Chase that thing out for this king. At the same time, he gave the head butler a look. Although he knew that he couldn't kill the other party, biting the other party to death was more in line with his Zombie King persona, wasn't it? The fans in the live broadcast room really thought that the Zombie King would chase the streamer's character out, but in the end, they saw Xiai's character being pulled out of the room. The butler revealed a ferocious smile. He ordered, bite her to death. At that time, the reaction of the fans in the live stream was, fuck. The Zombie King even knew how to feign compliance. How impressive. Then, 4 words appeared on Xiai's computer screen. Game failed. Chapter 760. For the next few days, Xiai played Zombie Bride every day. As a result, her live stream room was filled with all kinds of curses. Was the streamer dragged out by the Zombie King and bitten to death? The streamer was tied up and the Zombie King let her out to parade on the streets. Maybe because Xiai had broken through the game too many times, the Zombie King didn't kill her anymore. He just tied her up outside the house. The entire live stream room was very quiet as they watched the Zombie King pamper his bride. Xiai's character could only watch the two show off their love. Xiai couldn't restart the game even if she wanted to. Every time she restarted the game, she would return to the same place where she was tied up. The fans in the live stream room were very happy. Xiai's gaming experience was almost zero. She was almost driven crazy by the game. After playing games for so many years, she had never been played by a game before. This experience was really not good at all. She only had one wish, which was to find a way to take the bride out of the town once. When the game was cleared, she would never play the game again. Husband, why does this bad woman come here every day? Tangwa leaned on the Zombie King and asked with a smile. She's so thick-skinned. The Zombie King didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There must be something wrong with her brain. Was her brain eaten by zombies? Xiai was so angry that her eyes turned red. Your brain was eaten by zombies. The fans in the live stream room. Ha 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 ha, the streamer's brain was eaten by zombies. The Zombie King looked at the bride sitting beside him and felt some emotions in his heart. He understood this feeling very well and couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He was considered a genius in the gaming world. He didn't expect that he would be attracted to a game character. Maybe he would never be able to get out. Currently, the bride's character was almost never repeated. Maybe they could really go on like this? He raised his head and coldly glanced at the people who were tied up while patting Tangua's head. In order to spend more time with his bride, he had no choice but to tie up all the players who played this game. For half a month, Xiai used all kinds of methods to make the bride agree to go with her, let alone secretly take her out. She tried to find the props in the town, but she didn't expect that. Once, the bride held a talisman and smiled at her. I knew you were up to no good. You must be looking for something to harm my husband. Fortunately, I found all these things. I won't let you hurt my husband. Then, Xiai and the audience in the live streaming room watched as Tangua tore the amulet apart. Not only did she tear it apart, but she also rubbed it hard and threw it into the water. Xiai was speechless. Viewers in the live stream. The bride is indeed their goddess. She's so protective of her man. The Zombie King is so lucky. Then, Tangua waved her hand. Tie her up. This bad woman wants to harm my husband. Whip her. Then, the viewers in the live streaming room watched as the streamer was whipped by the game character for half an hour. System. It's broken. It's broken. Xiai was indeed a little exhausted. She couldn't sleep because of the weather. Thinking about what she had experienced in the past few days, she felt that it was a nightmare. That bride and the Zombie King were really too annoying. She decided that she wouldn't play that game tomorrow afternoon. Weren't there 2 other games in the USB flash drive? Xiai's eyes lit up. Yes, she would play another game tomorrow. She didn't believe that she would meet such annoying characters again. It wasn't a game at all. It was clearly a game player. Chapter 761. Husband. Will that bad woman come again? The Zombie King looked at the bride beside him with a gentle gaze and replied, I don't know. I found and destroyed all the charms in Zombie Town that could harm husband. With me here, I won't let her harm husband. The Zombie King took a deep breath. He actually couldn't resist the sweet words of a game character and fell for it just like that. Just who designed this character? She actually pierced right into his heart. It really made him feel both warm and regretful. He didn't know how much longer they could be together. Even though she was just a game character, he couldn't help but hug her and ask in a low voice, Is there anything else you want to eat? I'll have the butler prepare it for you. There's nothing else. Tangua looked up with a smile in her eyes. If there's something I really want to eat, then there's something I really want to eat. What is it? The Zombie King's gaze became more and more indulgent. Tell me and have the butler prepare it. Well, Tangua hesitated for a moment before whispering in his ear, I'm afraid the butler doesn't have it. Only you have it. Why am I the only one with it? The Zombie King didn't react for a moment and asked, What is it? System. Hee. It's you, husband. I want to eat you, but I don't know if that's possible. Tangua stared straight at the Zombie King. That seductive and serious gaze made the Zombie King's entire body burn. Eat him? That wasn't good. He thought that game characters didn't understand. Could it be that he had unlocked some hidden attribute? His heart was tickled and he blurted out without thinking, How does my wife want to eat me? After asking, the old zombie's ears burned even more. He forced a smile. He actually asked a game character such a question. Did he really stay in the game for too long and think that this was a real world? Tangua leaned her head on the Zombie King's shoulder and blinked. She asked with a longing gaze, Can I eat you? The system indicated that it should block it. The Zombie King was stunned for a moment. He rubbed Tangua's head and said with an uncomfortable expression, We'll talk about this later. He suddenly remembered that he had never asked for the name of this game character. So he asked, It's been a few days, and I haven't asked for your name either. My name is Tangua. My family is from Tang Village. Tangwa opened her mouth, but the zombie king repeated this name several times. Even if she was no longer here in the future, he would probably remember this name for a long time. Tangwa, a person from his family Tang Village, was a game character that could touch his heart. She was like a real person, and he even hoped that she was a real person. What's your name, husband? Zombie King came back to his senses and did not immediately answer, as if he was recalling something. After a long while, he looked at Tangwa seriously and said, My name is Feng Ming. Feng Ming? Tangwa narrowed her eyes. Were they from the Feng family? That should be it. However, even though they all had the same surname, why were there so many different people? Some people were extremely annoying, while others were just too cute. I'll remember it. Feng Ming is my husband's name. Feng Ming saw how happy Tangwa was, and a helpless and doting smile appeared on his face. He didn't know if it was good or bad to have feelings for a game character. Fortunately, he was in the game and was already dead in reality. As long as she didn't disappear, they could always be together. Feng Ming looked at Tangwa's smiling face and wanted to say something, but everything around him suddenly shattered, and the Tangwa in front of him disappeared. Chapter 762. When the environment suddenly changed, Tangwa was slightly stunned. She looked around and saw that she was surrounded by a forest. The ground was made of smooth stone slabs, and the silver moonlight shone above her head. Unlike the sedan she was in before, the carriage she was in now was in the style of ancient Europe. She looked ahead. Under the moonlight, she could clearly see that there was a huge castle not far ahead. Even at night, she could still feel the magnificence and splendor of the castle. Because it was hidden deep in the mountains, the surroundings were quiet and eerie. It didn't look like a place where normal people lived. It should be another game. Tangwa guessed and said to the system, I think it should be Vampire's Bride. Vampires come from the west. The carriage I'm in is in the style of ancient Europe. The castle in front is also a standard ancient European castle. The person leading the horse in front is wearing the same clothes. It means that I've entered the Vampire's Bride game. Tangwa rubbed her chin and narrowed her eyes. Could that Vampire's Blood Emperor be Feng Ming? System, I think it should be. I think so too. These 3 games were all designed by Feng Yu. Feng Ming being the Zombie King was definitely not a coincidence. There must be a connection. But this was not important. The moment she decided to enter the game, she didn't want to go out. After playing in the online world for so many days, she didn't want to go out. What was fun in the outside world? It was only fun in the online world. While she and the system were talking, the carriage stopped outside the castle. A Western-looking man in a tuxedo walked out of the castle. He looked elegant and noble. He came in front of Tangwa and smiled like a god. Beautiful lady from the east, please get down from the carriage. The master has been waiting for you for a long time. Tangwa was helped down by the butler and followed him in. The castle looked quiet from the outside, but when they walked in, they realized that there were many people inside. They all slowly danced to the beat of the music on the dance floor. Everything looked very harmonious, as if there was just a late-night dance party here. The moment Tangwa walked in, many eyes fell on her. Especially the men present, their gazes towards Tangwa were filled with mockery. Tangwa stood beside the housekeeper calmly. She did not care about those invasive gazes. There was nothing to be afraid of. This lady from the east is Master's distinguished guest. The housekeeper glanced at the people at the ball. After saying this, the people who were originally looking at Tangwa hurriedly looked away and continued to dance with their partners, as if nothing had happened just now. The butler was very satisfied. He asked Tangwa to wait by the side and poured her a glass of red wine and dessert. During this time, no one dared to approach Tangwa, but she could hear the people on the dance floor talking about her. She's so beautiful. It's a pity that he is the food of the Blood Emperor. I hope the Blood Emperor is not satisfied with this dessert. You're dreaming. She looks delicious and sweet. Tangwa sipped her red wine and glanced at the people who were talking to themselves. They were a group of people who were imitating others to talk about right and wrong. System, look at how arrogant my host is. Not long after, the music stopped and a man appeared at the top of the stairs. His gaze fell on Tangwa. When he saw Tangua's face, he was stunned. Then he quickly walked down and stood in front of Tangua. Chapter 763. Beautiful lady, may I dance with you? The man's voice was sexy and magnetic. It was very attractive. He bent down slightly and stretched out his hand. His eyes never left Tangua's body. Tangua put down the wine glass and stood up. She placed her hand in his and smiled gently. It's my honor. Feng Ming was stunned when he saw this smile. If he hadn't come to another game and seen a girl with the same face but different clothes, he would have thought that they were the same game character. But he shook his head. How could it be the same game? Such a small probability event couldn't exist in the Feng family's game. He led his food to the dance floor. Neither of them spoke. When they danced, they actually had a tacit understanding. During this time, Feng Ming kept having the illusion that he was still holding his bride's hand. The bride, who especially liked to eat drumsticks, had a beautiful smile and said sweet words that could reach the bottom of one's heart. She even fiercely said that those players were bad people. He didn't expect that while they were chatting happily in the game, his surroundings would shatter in an instant. He had become the most honorable person in the castle. In this game, he was defined as the first blood emperor of the vampire. It was really unexpected. He felt a little regretful. He didn't know how his bride was doing. Was that game destroyed because of their existence? Beautiful lady, what's your name? Respected sir, my name is Tangua. Tangua looked at Feng Ming with a smile and said her name. The moment she said her name, she successfully saw Feng Ming's stunned expression. She even felt his body tremble slightly. His large hand tightened around her waist and pulled her into his arms. That pair of deep and gentle eyes stared at her face. He raised a hand and touched her cheek as if to confirm something. In the end, the disappointment in his eyes disappeared and he laughed softly. His voice was very happy. He leaned close to Tangua's ear. Bride, is that you? I'm Feng Ming, Feng Ming said excitedly. Feng Ming said excitedly. He didn't know if Tangua still had her memories, but the beautiful girl in front of him was exactly the same as his bride. Every frown and smile, even her voice, intonation, and the playfulness in her eyes were the same. Tangua blinked at him. She stood on her tiptoes and whispered in his ear, Hubby, is that you? Yes. Feng Ming replied quickly. He brought Tangua to the center of the dance floor and led her to dance happily. The surrounding vampires were dumbfounded. Why was their first blood emperor so happy? Could it be because of that beautiful oriental girl? Was it food filled with a sweet aroma? I thought I would never see you again, Feng Ming said happily. He hugged Tangua's waist and didn't want to let go. I didn't expect to see you again, my bride. The lights gradually dimmed. There were not only vampires on the dance floor, there were also ordinary people who had been brought in. To be able to come here, they were all carefully selected by the vampires. Some of them were willing to come, while others didn't know the situation here. But no one could escape. When the sun rose tomorrow morning, there would only be a castle of vampires left. I'm a vampire this time. Feng Ming's happy voice rang out. That bad woman should be coming again. Tangua couldn't help but laugh. I won't go with her. I know. Chapter 764. Are you willing to be with me forever? Feng Ming seemed to have thought it through. He didn't know when they would be separated again. It was better to take advantage of this short period of time to be together. Of course. Tangua replied. This time, I'm still alone. If I can be with you, becoming a vampire is nothing. I also want to see what kind of expression that bad woman will have when she comes to save me and finds out that I'm a vampire. Feng Ming was amused. She was indeed very attractive. Now, he didn't care if she was a character in a game or a real person. He just wanted to be with her. As long as they were together, he wanted to pamper her and treat her well. Feng Ming brought Tangua to a dark corner and pressed her against the wall. The two of them were very close. He kissed her neck. It might hurt a little. To be honest, he didn't really want to bite her. He knew that she wasn't a real person, but he still didn't want to see her in pain. I heard that being bitten by a vampire doesn't hurt. Instead, it will give you a very special feeling. Try biting me first. Feng Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was such a saying? Seeing Tangwa's expectant gaze, he stretched out his fangs and gently bit her delicate neck. Fresh blood filled his mouth, making him feel like he was sucking her dry. But he controlled himself and only bit a very shallow wound. In the end, he even licked it for her. Seeing that she didn't look like she was in pain, he heaved a sigh of relief. The other vampires on the dance floor naturally saw this scene. In the end, they were stunned as they watched their first Blood Emperor carry Tangway up. He didn't treat her as food at all, but as if he was holding the most precious gem. This group of people didn't understand why the Blood Emperor, who had never bitten anyone, would bite this Asian girl and even turn her into a vampire. Was she really that delicious? The confused vampires were a little disappointed. From tomorrow onwards, that Asian girl would be the descendant of the Blood Emperor, the second generation of vampires, His Royal Highness. Whether it was in terms of strength or seniority, she was higher than them. They looked at each other and thought for a moment. Perhaps they should call her Royal Highness tomorrow. God, this must be a dream. Why did they have to have a Royal Highness that they couldn't afford to offend at a ball? Moreover, she was such a weak Asian girl. They hoped that when they woke up the next morning, it would all be a dream. The next day, Tangwa could feel that her body in the game had gained a lot of power. She also felt that she was connected to Feng Ming by blood. How is it? Feng Ming asked nervously. Tangwa smiled. Not bad. I feel like I'm full of energy. Is that bad woman here? Feng Ming patted her head indulgently. Not yet. Then I'll wait for her. Feng Ming was a little suspicious. She was so vengeful and wanted to teach that player a lesson. She really resembled a person. In order to cooperate with Tangwa, Feng Ming could only follow the plot and leave her alone for a while. Xiai didn't wake up until noon because she had stayed up late last night and was tired from the zombie bride game. She didn't forget her decision last night. She definitely wouldn't play the zombie bride today. In the end, she chose the vampire bride. One was from the east, and the other was from the west. She didn't believe that this game would be as torturous as the previous one. After washing up and putting on makeup, she opened the live stream. The audience in the live stream saw her and yelled, "Host, are you still going to be tortured by the zombie king and the bride?" Chapter 765. I'm not playing that today. Xiai smiled, but she wanted to say something. She didn't know what was wrong with the audience. They just liked to watch her get tortured. If it weren't for the fact that they had given her rewards, she wouldn't have bothered with these crazy people. What should she play today? The audience was a little disappointed, but they were also looking forward to it. Perhaps it would be more fun than the previous game. Xiai opened the Vampire Bride game. The live stream was quiet for the time being. She went through a lot of trouble to disguise herself as a servant and sneak into the vampire castle. She found the bride's room and used the excuse of delivering tea to sneak into the room. In reality, it wasn't that easy. Feng Ming had gone easy on Xiai in order to cooperate with Tangwa. At the moment, he was sure that these games hadn't been released yet. Xiai was the only player. Or perhaps, this game was designed for Xiai. As for why he was here, he wasn't sure. The audience in the live stream was excited when they saw Xiai successfully enter the room. Actually, they were looking forward to it. They were especially happy when they saw the streamer get tortured. They didn't know why. They also felt regretful. If the streamer stopped playing the zombie bride game, they wouldn't be able to see the interesting bride. The bride was cuter than the streamer. Hello. Tangwa looked at the person who was dressed as a servant. Who are you? Why are you here? The audience in the live stream saw the bride talking like this and thought, is this character design similar to the previous one? It's not an ordinary character design, but a character design that can torture players. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Xiai felt that something was wrong, but her character was persuading the bride to leave with her. At this moment, she couldn't do anything. According to normal games, when players appeared, the bride would agree to leave with them. She didn't know why the design of Ayu's previous game was different. Soon, Xiai put these thoughts aside and continued to watch the conversation. This castle is full of vampires. You should be afraid, right? Tangwa shook her head. No, I'm not afraid. The audience in the live stream. Ha 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 ha. The bride said she's not afraid. Ha 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 ha. This is hilarious. Xia Yi, isn't the situation a little strange? They will bite you, drink your blood, and turn you into a vampire that cannot see the light of day. Xia Yi's character continued, I'm here to save you. As long as you follow me, I can send you home and guarantee your safety. Tangwa quickly shook her head. I won't. Viewers in the live stream. The bride said she's not leaving. Host, did you hear that? Xia Yi frowned. Things were getting worse. How can you dance with a vicious vampire? You have to come with me tonight, or else the Blood Emperor will definitely turn you into a vampire. At that time, you will no longer be a human, and you will never be able to go back and see your family. Bride, come with me. I will definitely bring you home safely. Tangwa grinned. Become a vampire? That's right. They will turn you into a vampire. It will be very painful. You will live in darkness forever, unable to see the sun. You will also have long fangs. Just imagining that scene is incomparably terrifying and ugly. Is that so? Tangwa suddenly stretched out her fangs at Xia Yi's character and grabbed her. Are you going to turn into a vampire if I bite you with these long fangs? Chapter 766. When the audience saw that the bride showed her long fangs and was about to bite Xia Yi's character, the whole room went crazy. What the fuck? What the fuck? Ha 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 ha. I'm dying of laughter. The streamer's room is the source of happiness today. When you tell the bride that vampires are scary and will turn her into a vampire, and she suddenly shows her long fangs to you and asks you if that's true, how will you react? I can only say, 666. After the zombie bride, I have another goddess, and it's this vampire bride. Pfft, what a trick. Let's calculate the area of the streamer's psychological shadow. Xia Yi, I don't know if I should say something. The bride has become a vampire. How can I save her? This game is poisonous. But her character was still grabbed by the bride and couldn't get rid of her. Xia Yi felt like she had nothing left to live for. Tangwa took back her fangs and looked down at Xia Yi's character. You are the only human in this castle. Your blood should be very sweet. They will be very satisfied. Xia Yi's premonition was getting worse and worse. Butler. As soon as Tangwa said that, the butler in a tuxedo came in. My prince, how can I help you? There is a sweet food here. She is a human and doesn't want to become a vampire. Take her to meet everyone. Ask them to treat her well. Just take one bite a day. Give her more food to nourish her blood, so that she won't die from excessive blood loss. Yes, my prince. I will go now. The butler walked out and called for 2 people to come in. They took the dumbfounded Xia Yi's character out. Soon, she came to her senses and shouted, You can't do this. We are the same kind. How can you hurt your own kind? I am a vampire now. We are not the same kind. If you want to become one, I can ask them to fulfill your wish. No, I don't want to. I don't want to become a vampire. The audience in the live room looked at this scene and laughed crazily. At the same time, they couldn't look at this scene directly. This was really a case of the players being played by the game. They looked at how Xia Yi's character was struggling. They didn't sympathize with her at all. They only thought that it was really funny. This game was too interesting. Ha ha ha, let them have some fun first. Xia Yi watched as her character was brought downstairs. Then, those scary vampires started to discuss how much blood she should bleed every day. His Highness the Prince said that you are not allowed to bite her to death. You can't suck it dry either. Not to mention becoming a vampire. We also need to feed her food to replenish her blood. Xia Yi's eyes were a little dizzy. You can't do this, okay? The audience in the streaming room, thumped. Ha 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 ha, I don't know what to say. I just feel happy. Streamer, you can play this every day in the future. No, Xia Yi refused in her heart. She would go crazy if she was played by the game every day. She glanced at the tortured game character and felt a little hopeless. Finally, she had no choice but to call Feng Yu. Yu, is something the matter? Xia Yi looked at the screen and felt wronged. Did you design this game to tease her? Yu, I think that the 3 games you designed are very strange. I have played 2 of them so far. The reactions of the characters in the game are really surprising. Xia Yi told him what had happened. Yu, how did you think of designing such a game? Wait, can you say that again? Feng Yu was a little surprised. He remembered that this was a simple horror single-player game. It was completely different from what Xiaoyi had said. Chapter 767. When Xiaoyi heard Feng Yu's question, she assumed that he took this matter very seriously. Since she was the one playing the game, he must have taken her seriously. Recently, she had been overjoyed because she had a body. Coupled with the fact that she played games every day, she had almost forgotten about Feng Yu. They had been in a relationship for so many years. How could she forget about Feng Yu's existence? She quickly described the situation in the game to Feng Yu in detail. Yu, is the game like this, or is there something wrong with it? If the game is like this, I might never be able to pass the game. Now, I'm being mocked by the viewers in my live stream. As soon as I went on the live stream, they asked me if I was going to be played by the game or tortured by the game character. Although she had received a lot of tips recently, she still felt frustrated. Most people who really like to play games would not want to be tortured by the game. Feng Yu completely ignored Xiaoyi's last sentence. His mind was filled with the game scene that Xiaoyi had described. He was very sure that he had not set up any hidden plots when he designed the 3 games. The theme of the games and the character designs of the 3 brides were also different from what Xiaoyi had described. Xiaoyi's description of her character gave people a feeling that she had broken down. Little E, have you gone offline yet? Not yet. My character is still stuck in the game. She's being bled by all sorts of vampires. She looks terrible. Xiaoyi said softly. We haven't seen each other for a few days. Are you free? Why don't you come over? All right, I'll be right there. Xiaoyi felt much better. You still cared about her as much as before. Then I'll wait for you. Feng Yu was actually very busy. However, he had never encountered a problem like the one that had appeared in the game design industry for so many years. The bride's reaction made him even more concerned. It was as if she was not a character in the game, but a person. As he thought of this, Feng Yu felt slightly excited. Xiaoyi was playing the game on Xiaogua's computer. Could the bride in the game be Xiaogua? As he touched the watch on his wrist, he recalled the sweet smile on Tanggua's face. Her character was completely different from the broken bride in the game. Immediately, his heart sank. Indeed, the two were completely different. How could he have guessed that the bride was Xiaogua? He could only say that it was possible. No matter what, these 3 games were designed by him. He had to take a look. About 15 minutes later, Feng Yu arrived. He took the spare key and opened the door directly. Walking into the small cubicle where the live stream was taking place, he saw Xiaoyi's character being surrounded by many vampires on the game interface. The character's face was pale. Xiaoyi was sitting at the side with a look of despair. Yu. Seeing that Feng Yu had arrived, she hurriedly stood up. Quick, take a look. This is what it looks like. Feng Yu glanced at the screen and sat down. I'll reset the game first. When Feng Yu walked to the computer, Tanggua was already paying attention. When she heard that Feng Yu wanted to reset the game, she was a little unhappy. Unless they stopped playing the game, as long as she was in the game, they couldn't reset if she didn't want them to. As a result, Feng Yu encountered a situation where he was unable to reset the game that he had designed. How is it, Yu? Xiaoyi asked nervously. Is there anything wrong with the game? Chapter 768. This game is supposed to be like this, Feng Yu explained briefly. After all, this was just a normal horror game. What Xiaoyi had encountered earlier should not have happened. Now that the game could not be reset, he would not be able to see the bride and the Blood Emperor. He would not be able to find out what was going on. Let me analyze their data. Xiaoyi did not understand these things. She could only watch as Feng Yu worked. She did not dare to disturb him, especially when she saw the frown on his face. Feng Yu did not like to be disturbed when he was working. Hence, Xiaoyi remained silent. After a long while, Feng Yu's face turned pale. It's completely normal. How is that possible? Yu, can't we do it? Xiaoyi recalled how she had been tortured. Why don't we just destroy this game? I didn't know about it in the past. Now that I know that it's not like this, I feel very uncomfortable. If we destroy it, the bride probably won't appear again. Feng Yu turned around to look at Xiaoyi. We can't destroy it. He had yet to confirm if the bride was Xiaogua's brainwave. Before he could confirm it, The game had to exist properly. Little E, you mentioned that the zombie bride had the same problem? Yeah, that's why I played the vampire bride today. Xia Yi pouted. I didn't expect it to be like this. Why don't you try the zombie bride? Maybe you'll find something. Feng Yu nodded. He used another computer and loaded the zombie bride into the game. Tanghua had been staring outside the entire time. As soon as the zombie bride was activated, her surroundings began to shatter. Feng Ming, who had been sitting next to her and hugging her, began to panic. When the surroundings became clear again, Tanghua and Feng Ming appeared in the zombie bride game at the same time. The two of them were lying on the bed in each other's arms. They opened their eyes, looked at each other, and smiled at the same time. Feng Ming hugged Tangua's waist tightly as he breathed into her ear. I thought I wouldn't be able to see you again. I didn't expect to see you in my arms when I opened my eyes. Feng Ming smiled. If only you were like me. Even in the game, I wouldn't have to worry about you disappearing. Tanghua could understand Feng Ming's complicated emotions. She hugged his waist tightly and said, I am a human. Guogua, my bride. Who designed you? You actually have so many human emotions. I'm really starting to like you more and more. As Feng Ming spoke, he kissed her forehead. So what if you're a game character? I still like you. I like you too. Tanghua smiled at Feng Ming and kissed him on the lips. She wrapped her arms around his neck and said seriously, I'm really alone. Stop comforting me. Feng Ming smiled helplessly. The bride was too considerate. She could actually grasp his emotions and say that she was a human. System, you've gone overboard. I don't believe you. Dear host, let's see how you explain that you're a human and not a game character. Tanghua bit Feng Ming and said, I'm really alone. Feng Ming only smiled and shook his head. He pressed her into his arms and kissed her a few times. Yes, yes, you're alone. Tanghua was speechless. She couldn't explain it clearly. Hubby, do I look like a human? Tanghua smiled. Very good. If he didn't believe that she was a human, then she wasn't a human. Very, very. Feng Yu smiled dotingly. Chapter 769. Feng Ming no longer cared about whether she was a person or a game character. He was curious about how many hidden attributes she had that had not been triggered. He was thinking, if she was like him, staying in this game forever, existing forever, would he not be the same as before? Would he not be lonely anymore? Tanghua felt Feng Ming's excitement. It was a little strange. Wasn't this guy very reserved before and didn't have much interest in the game character? Why was he so enthusiastic now? Did he figure it out somewhere? Hubby. Feng Ming paused. What is it? What are you thinking about? Feng Ming looked at Tangua's confused expression and chuckled. He pinched her face. I'm thinking that in the future, Guogua will be with me in this world. I'm no longer alone here. Didn't Guogua say that she wanted to be my wife? Now I understand. I like Guogua very much and want to live here with you. When Feng Ming said this, his eyes were full of smiles. His gaze was fixed on Tangua's face, as if he was observing how this game character would react. For example, would she be confused or understand what he said? Tanghua suddenly understood. This guy had said so much because he wanted to trigger the hidden attribute of her game character. Hubby. Tangua's voice suddenly stretched out. Her sweet and delicate tone softened Feng Ming's heart. If he had such an obedient and sweet-sounding wife every day, it would not be a pity if he could not go out. Hubby, do you mean that we will live together for the rest of our lives and become a real husband and wife? Feng Ming's face was tense as he tried to make himself look normal. Yes, we are husband and wife. Shouldn't we live together for the rest of our lives? That's what I should do. I'm willing to be with my husband forever. Tanghua revealed a sweet smile. Then, husband, what kind of me do you like? The pure and shy type, or the enchanting type? I have many attributes. Tanghua smiled deeply. Of course, all the attributes can be changed at will. There's nothing that you can't think of. Feng Ming was stunned and did not react for a moment. This game character's attributes could be changed at will, and it wouldn't change once it was selected? Tanghua held his hand. First, she lowered her head and smiled. When she raised her head again, she had already revealed an extremely charming expression to him. This is called the enchanting type. Hubby, do you like it? Feng Ming was a little dumbfounded. Was this really possible? But as long as it was her, he actually liked it. But this kind of charming appearance really made him like it very much. While Feng Ming was still in a daze, the smile on Tang Guo's face disappeared and was replaced by a shy expression. She pushed Feng Ming away, looking shy and cute. She stole a glance at Feng Ming and carefully moved closer to him. Feng Ming was completely speechless. This must be the pure and shy type. What should he do? He was actually tempted by a game character. Fortunately, he was already dead and only his brain waves were left. His excitement would not burden his heart. That obedient, shy, and sweet girl gently moved into his arms and leaned close to his face. Like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, she lightly kissed him. Just as he was about to make love to her, she suddenly jumped away. She stood there and stole glances at him. Her pair of watery eyes melted his heart. "Guo Guo, come here," Feng Ming shouted. Tang Guo smiled. "Hubby, what style do you choose?" "I choose both." "Can I?" "Of course." Tang Guo smiled and threw herself into his arms. At this moment, the door was pushed open. Chapter 770. Feng Ming froze. Tang Guo smiled. Of course, she knew who the intruder was. It could only be Feng Yu's game character. Feng Ming gently let go of her and helped her up. When he saw the player who had rushed in, his face darkened. The good atmosphere was ruined by this guy. He hugged Tang Guo tightly in his arms. These players did not have good intentions. All of them wanted to snatch his bride away. Bride. Feng Yu's game character came in front of the two of them and spoke directly to Tang Guo. "I'm here to save you. Come with me." At the same time, Feng Yu sat in front of the computer and stared at the game interface. When Tang Guo was in the game, there was almost no difference between the character in the game and the character in real life. However, when Feng Yu looked at the character in the game in real life, it was just an ordinary game character. He could not recognize what she looked like. If he did not pay close attention, it would be difficult to associate her game character's face with her appearance. Therefore, when Feng Yu saw the bride appear, he was not very surprised. He was only confirming what was wrong with the bride's data. It was just as he had guessed. The bride was not a game character, but Tang Guo's brain waves. When the words appeared above his game character's head, he stared nervously at the bride's head, waiting for what he wanted to happen. "Who are you? Why should I go with you?" Tang Guo still answered according to her thoughts. "Are you also here to separate me and my husband?" When Feng Yu saw this sentence, he frowned. Wasn't this Xiaoguo? How could this reaction be Xiaoguo? Was there really an uncontrollable abnormality in the bride's data that even he did not notice? Was that why the character design was different? "He's a zombie. You're human. You can't be together. Come with me. I'll take you home." Tang Guo curled her lips impatiently. "Everyone wants to separate me and my husband." She held Feng Yu's arm and said sweetly, "My husband, can you throw him out? We still have unfinished business. This guy will definitely come again and again. Tie him up and whip him hard." Feng Yu was in complete disbelief. His game's positive character had actually collapsed, and he had even come up with such a crooked idea. He was simply more of a villain than a villain. The problem was, he had never added any hidden attributes to the bride. Where did she learn these words? After pondering for a long time, Feng Yu decided to change the data of the players. He only changed one point, allowing the players to organize their own language to converse with the bride. Perhaps this way, they could find out if she was a game boss or brainwave. Seeing his character being whipped by the zombie, Feng Yu didn't react at all. Fortunately, he had brought everything he needed. Sitting in this small cubicle, he began to change the data. Xiaoyi looked at the string of words that she didn't understand and asked in confusion, "You? What are you doing?" "Change the data." Perhaps it was this new discovery that made Feng Yu in a good mood. While he was busy, he answered Xiaoyi's question. Xiaoyi curled her lips. "Is it important? Should we finish our meal first before we do this?" Since she had a body, they had never gone out to eat. Xiaoyi suddenly realized. "If you're hungry, order takeout," Feng Yu said emotionlessly, immediately dispelling Xiaoyi's enthusiasm. "You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.